The Raincode compilers allow you to use code from the mainframe and use it as it is on the Windows platform. However, many of these programs are not made of COBOL and PL1 only. They also include kicks and SQL statements. When going to the .NET platform, SQL Server is of course the database of choice. And given that SQL is a standard, SQL statements written originally for DB2 should run unmodified when targeting SQL Server. That's theory. Practice is a totally different matter, because beyond the trivial, SQL implementations are totally incompatible. And in any given portfolio, anywhere between 60 and 80% of the SQL statement written originally for DB2 must be transformed in some way before they can be used on SQL Server. In practice, tens of thousands of statements must be changed in a non-trivial way, and even if the compiler deals with the host language COBOL or PL1, the database migration becomes a serious issue in its own right. To address this, the Raincode compilers include a facility which performs this conversion at compile time. DB2 SQL statements are converted into equivalent SQL Server statements automatically. And since this transformation is performed at compile time as opposed to runtime, it induces no performance penalty whatsoever. The resulting code is as fast as if it had been written for SQL Server in the first place. Depending on the portfolio at hand, between 97 to 99% of the SQL statements are processed successfully using this facility. This example shows many transformations that can be applied. The isolation level, the limit of records to be fetched, functions, concat, strip, upper. Arithmetic operations on dates are not supported in SQL Server and are converted to explicit functions. Implicit date conversions supported in DB2 but not in SQL Server. Today is a character variable and is compared with a date. It's converted explicitly to a date. In practice, this facility is activated by a command line switch or in the Visual Studio plugin. When a connection string to a reference database is specified, SQL statements are analyzed for data types and additional transformations are then automatically enabled. This enables, for instance, to explicitly convert date types correctly. A separate video explains how to enable the repository database in the Raincode compiler. When enabled, it keeps track of each and every SQL statement that has been encountered, together with its rewritten version, if any. At runtime, command line flags can be set to connect to a given DB2 or SQL Server. It even allows for a compiled object module to contain both the DB2 and SQL Server version of every SQL statement, and have the appropriate one selected at runtime depending on the database one targets. The Raincode runtime takes care of mapping the target database error codes to the ones expected by the program.